Hello, welcome. Hi, this is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pao, and I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and Heart Network on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the app on the respective app stores while you download it. Please make sure that you leave a comment, that you rate it, because feedback is important to us. The app is totally free. You can find Zingo TV in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also in all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you all for being here today. I would love to welcome my friend Adriana Giraldo. She is just an awesome trainer and coach. So I welcome you to the show and to the
Thank you.
house. So
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I
you're so
really
welcome. Please share with our audience a little bit about you so they get to know you more. And welcome back.
thank you. Thank you. So I am a high performance and mindset coach. I'm all about optimizing the mind and the body. It's all not only how it communicates one way, but it's all the communication all around. So my passion is about unlocking human potential and also walking people through whatever vision they have. So I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of students and people that come through our trainings, and it's just amazing how you can see the transformation that they get to do in just when they answer the call. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And today we're going to talk about leadership. It's one of the things that Adriana and I also love to talk about.
Mhm.
So let's start, you know, talking about how can we like motivate and inspire our people.
And yeah, that is such a good question. Everybody knows about motivation, right? It's like how can we can motivate and get people into kind of into the mood and the gist. And motivation comes within, right? It's the external environment influences, but it also comes within. And the only way that we can find that is if we know what is it that we want to go, right? Many times what happens is we think, quote unquote, what we want of success. We're going one path, right? But reality, we're actually following somebody else's step. So we're not being the leader of our life, we're being the leader of somebody else's life. And when we're not seeing the results, when we start procrastinating, when we're saying, oh my gosh, I don't even know if this is what I want, well, it makes sense because it's almost like we're living a parallel life with somebody else. So it does not allow us to be the leader that we're actually truly are with authenticity. So that for me, one of the key pieces, and I know we've talked about it about this, Paul, is being authentic, is being who you are, and it's simple, right? But it's sometimes very very hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm picturing right now is like sometimes when we go to a training, sometimes we might read a book or we fall in love with an author's art and we
Mhm.
want to follow the steps that they did. And sometimes if it doesn't match with who we are, then we're trapped in a leadership path that
Yeah.
is not truly our authentic. We're not being authentic. We're just following because we knew it worked and it might work. I mean, it's like there is a high percentage that it could be working, but you're not really fulfilling who you are as you're
Mhm.
practicing leadership. So yes, and it's
Mhm.
true. Yes.
And actually, I was having a conversation, I think a couple of days with one of my clients. So it's the transition, especially, and you know this, is people transitioning between, let's say, a career that they spent several years, and now they want to transition to do something that they actually want to do and that they, it lights them up, right? So many
Mhm.
people are saying like, well, that's just transition, that's a midlife crisis, whatever that is. But the reality is that recent life events have led us to realize there's more to life than just doing the 9 to 5. So many times the gateway to actually discover that authenticity, what you want to do, the real person or the real you, kind of quote unquote, right? Is like, okay, one of the things that is very common out there is passive income and financial freedom. But then you find yourself into pursuing the success and the money, but not actually the person that you want to become. And
I
it's a
love
trap.
that.
It is a trap.
Yes.
So it's like, how can you actually, whatever that is, right? If of course money and success is good, I'm not gonna say no. And also in the process, how can you become that person, right? Not pretending to become somebody else, like a lot of people do in corporate America. It's like, I have to behave a certain way, I have to be a certain way. So it's how you can now translate or, be that authentic self in pursuing your dream. And it many, again, because of the comparison aspect, is like, okay, this person is doing this, I should be doing more. Then again, the leader in you stays dormant.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
yes. When we begin to compare, yeah, they're
Mhm.
doing this differently. Looks like it's better. It looks, because it's totally different whenever you wear their shoes.
Right.
Uh, so yes, it's like that comparison uh, happens. So that sometimes that take us off our path, like our authentic path. Or
Hmm.
sometimes it's like, oh, I better, I need to adopt this new habit. I'm like this is bringing me an aha moment because sometimes we set high standards,
Hmm.
and if we're not enjoying them, then we're kind of back into
Hmm.
that routine, that trap that you're talking about. That this happened to me, and I share it a couple of weeks, I think, in the show that I I like to, some of my standards is like getting up in the morning and having my morning routine, and I
Hmm.
wasn't working out. It's like my schedule changed, and I'm like, I don't like this, it's like because working out is a standard. It's just an
Hmm.
example, but it is a standard. But I wasn't doing things that I enjoyed. So I was going against my authentic self. It's like I want to
Hmm.
work out because it's part of my standards. So
Hmm.
a lot of people out there have high standards or certain standards. They just do it because they have, what I mean? Like they have
Hmm.
to. It's just a rule. Sometimes we have these personal rules that I have to do this in order to smile. You know what I mean? So this is one of mine. And if I was like, oh wow, how many people are out there
Hmm.
living uh, in high standards levels, but they're not enjoying their life. Because that was me. I
Hmm.
was, so now it's like with a help with a coach, then I was able to change that mindset of like,
Hmm.
okay, do something that you enjoy and celebrate.
Right.
So yes, it's like
Yeah.
sometimes we get trapped.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story, because, and now that you mentioned that, is the standards that sometimes we put on ourselves. It's like we like the standard, right? And many times we just, how we go about it is not, it's not enjoyable, as you mentioned. So I'll give you an example. So there was a recent study. I'm passionate about how the body works and all that. So there was it was a study about two rats, and this is actually true. So when people complain about, like, well, I don't like working out, but they're trying it, like what they're looking to do is to stick to a workout that they don't really enjoy. What people don't know is that that's more counterproductive, because even if you were to do, in the study, like, if the two rats, was one was being pulled by the other one, the one that was actually doing the pulling and kind of enjoying the exercise was getting the benefits, not the one that was being pulled. And for me, that was like, oh my gosh, like, a lot of people are doing not only an exercise, but if you map it across to some other areas, it's like, I'm doing my life by being pulled, doing things that I don't enjoy. So when we don't see the results we want, it's like, well, I wonder why. Is there any other way that I can do the same thing, achieve the same results, but doing it differently, doing my own way, doing the way that I actually get to, craft, enjoy, develop something new, right? Leave a legacy. That's the other thing. A lot about leadership is also leaving a legacy. for the ones behind, because a true leader doesn't is not about themselves. It's like, I want to empower them, build them up, elevate them, and if I'm gone, I'm gone. I leave the legacy, and that's the most important thing.
Yes.
So yeah, this is such a good point.
Yes, yes. Just to realize, like make sure that we're enjoying the standards
Mm-hmm.
and find a way and celebrate's a huge thing, is like, because the more we celebrate our our small habits,
Mm-hmm.
uh then the more grateful and joyful we would be. It's like, here this is kind of like maybe the third time I mentioned this in the show, that like life is a celebration, and I learned
Mm-hmm.
this from Tony Robbins. And when I heard that life is a celebration, back then I thought, oh yeah, gratitude, I have to be grateful all the time. And life is a celebration is, I understand now, it's deeper than that. It's
Mm-hmm.
celebrating the small steps that you do through the
Mm-hmm.
day. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like being a kid again, in a way, where it's like
Right.
you're grateful.
Yeah, it is a good point. It is being grateful, but like two or three layers deeper, right? Like what's behind that, right? Not just for the sake of being grateful, even in the moments where things don't work out, because sometimes, the reality is that things
Yes,
are not going to work out perfectly all the time. And if they did, they will be boring, right? It's in the
yes,
moments of friction that we get to learn, right? It's like, oh,
yeah,
this is where this is where maybe I need to change. This is where things are not working. And that's the key piece of transition, right? Even, you know, when we're changing, when we're doing something different, that's it's leaning into that friction and say, something is not working here. Like, I don't like this anymore. Like,
yeah,
whatever is it that I was finding the joy and, and the enjoyment, and I am not longer doing it.
yeah,
And then is leaning into that friction and say, okay, this is what I want to do now. And this is what life is all about. So
yeah,
is it is fascinating how now there's like a much more awareness of, is it truly what you're doing, meaningful? And it's that difference between the being and the doing, right? We get caught in the doing.
yes,
It's, the doing is what defines us.
yeah,
The doing is, it's all about, what is it that you're producing, the results, everything. And
yeah,
when we get wrapped around about the doing, we forget about being
yes,
just enjoying life. Is like, okay, are you working hard? Are you enjoying even your family? Like, are you seeing your kids grow up?
yes. I
Right.
I love you bringing this, because, like I said, my 2 weeks ago, my schedule changed. So now
Yes.
I'm playing the role of a leader in classrooms, and I love
Ooh.
I love testing all these beautiful
Mhm.
trainings and knowledge with gain. And because my schedule changed, I'm being a like it feels like I'm doing, like, and then I put a pause on my marriage, let's say,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, now 2 weeks pass, now I'm aware, I
Right.
have to uh rekindle, I have to
Mhm.
like go on a date, I have to like make sure that I'm nurturing my marriage, because life happens.
Yeah.
So but I'm aware, like, and
Mhm.
that's why we're having this show today, to
Yeah.
bring
Exactly.
awareness to you all, that life
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get caught in the doing, and I'm aware of, like, I'm aware of that, but I'm like, okay, I need to nurture and pay more attention to my marriage now, that just to balance things out. And I think that's what life is like trying to balance, to reach
Mhm.
that balance.
Mhm.
And we will always die trying, as long as we are growing and practicing and taking challenges. Is like trying to balance what we love with what we're doing, and being at the same time.
Right. There are two things that I love about what you said is, dying trying, and the awareness piece in terms of rekindling, right? So the first piece is, a lot of people say, well, if it's, and you hear in personal development a lot, right? Like, if you try, you're really not doing things. But it's not about the trying in terms of you've you doing the things and not wanting to do them. Is life is continue. There are things that you're gonna reach. There are things that you're not gonna reach. We're obsessed about reaching the mountaintop, the finish line. It's like once I reach this, then I'll be XYZ. I'll be happy. I'll be
Yes.
fulfilled. Right? But what happens is, and we don't know, but the brain is just brilliant. Is once we reach that mountaintop or that end goal, that finish line, we don't get to celebrate it and we don't get to enjoy it because we don't appreciate it. We don't see it. We don't notice it.
Yeah.
It's like, I need more. There's not enough. So it's that target keeps moving, keeps moving, keeps moving, keeps moving. And the reality is, like, life is supposed to be that way. Because if it's a finish line and that's it, and then what else is there? So many times we obsess on that finish line, thinking and
Oh, I think I
feeling that that's
lost
going to give us everything. Oh, can you hear me? I think, I wonder what happened. Oh, I wonder what happened.
you. Okay, I don't know if we're back. Are we back?
Yeah, are we back? Yeah, I'm like, I kept
Okay,
talking
good.
to.
No, not telling we're back. I was just telling them that I hope they're finding an aha moment of work, the awareness that sometimes we need to
Yeah,
reach that balance in our life, to make sure that we are uh doing what we love, spending time with our families, but and also trying to fulfill our purpose. But continue. I
yeah,
forgot what you were saying.
yeah. So so it's all about, going to the finish line, right? So we get obsessed with the finish line. It's all about
Yeah.
getting there. What happens after that? We haven't planned that yet because we're so obsessed that once we reach that, we're gonna get everything we've been missing. Well, that's a lie. And not to bash on any type of style of coaching or modality or anything like that. And also, many times, that's what people don't see any results in accountability coaching, is because, yes, I can hold you accountable for so much for reaching a goal, but what's happening after that, right? What's happening after you reached, it is not about just getting that and bringing that. That's not going to be the solution to your life, basically. And that's what we're thinking, that that's going to give us everything we want.
I
So,
see.
and that's a trap. Now, the other thing that you mentioned about rekindling, right, is now you have the awareness. And many times what happens is we get so caught up in the doing, you because you've been doing the work, right? But a lot of people pass years and even decades doing, 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 until the body and the mind gets exhausted. And it's like, can anymore. Like, I don't know, and nothing is working. Nothing. I'm by myself. I'm isolated. I don't have any friends. So the friends that I have, they're far away. There's no. They're missing that connection piece.
Yes.
Mhm,
I love what you're bringing. Yes, connection is like oxygen to the soul.
mhm. It is. It is. And even if we're introvert or extrovert, I'm an introvert.
Yeah, me
You still
too.
need that connection. I
Oh
mean,
yes.
it might be a little small dosage, but you still need a little bit of that connection. Who can relate to me, right?
Yeah.
And that's what a great that's and if we circle it back to being a great leader. It's the capacity of a leader to connect with with their people, with his or her people, right? It's like,
Yes.
how can he connect not only in the terms of an interaction or a transactional relationship, but the leader knows and understands what the person is going through, and it will be different
Yeah.
for everybody that he's leading, or she's leading, or they're leading, right? So it's very, very different, and the capacity to connect is what's going to be the key component to being a good leader.
What do you think are some of the key components to become a good leader? Like, for in order for us to connect with our team, and at the same time guide them, to move forward.
So one of the key components to connection is present, being present, and is the simplest thing, yet we're we're used to multitasking. Is we're doing this and then we're having a conversation, and maybe somebody's talking but I'm on my phone, and then I'm on the phone but I'm also cooking, or I'm all, or I'm driving, I'm doing this, right?
Hmm.
Presence is actually just focusing your attention into whatever you're doing, but actually listening not only to what the person is saying, but maybe two or three layers deeper. So, how can you actually see what they're trying to tell you? And maybe there's a hidden message. That's what presence allows you to do. But many times, when people are not saying what they want or they're acting up, even us as adults, right? It's because we're looking to grab somebody's attention, right? Many times people are a little bit more passive aggressive, more aggressive. They do it by hiding. It doesn't really matter. People want to be seen, people want to be heard, people want to be understood, right? So once you give that, I'm seeing you, I hear you, then the
Yes.
leader is like fully present and actually going, making that connection and actually letting them know you're valuable, you're important. It's not me taking the lead, it's also I depend on you as well.
That's beautiful.
Hmm.
That is beautiful. I had to use that strategy, and of course, in a classroom, because there is always, one that
Hmm.
wants to feel that, and it's just they're as a teenager. That's what they're trying to communicate. Tell me
Hmm.
that I matter. And this week I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Because it's like I have the strategies, I have the techniques. I'm like, how can I turn this around?
Yeah.
How can I turn this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was my answer. It's like I need to make this student feel like that it's important, that he matters, that I welcome him
Hmm.
into my space.
Hmm.
And I did that. It's like I was able to do a celebration, and I used other students, but I brought him in as well, and it's like to celebrate him. He was there. And yeah, Friday, just yesterday, I was able to see the difference. So I
That's
was like, okay, so
yes.
yeah, so it works. That's I think life brought me back into the classroom. I see it as a
Mhm.
gift for me to also see that leaderships work everywhere you go.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's like
Mhm.
that, because it wasn't planned. It happened, and
Mhm.
and and that's what I'm seeing is like I'm using what we're learning and we've learned, and it works. So it
Right.
works, and it works with teenagers. So it works with adults as well. So
We
yeah,
so it's funny because as adults we think we already passed through that, like, oh, we're not a
yeah,
teenager, we're not a child anymore. The
yeah.
reality is many times in the moments of crisis, in the moments that are difficult, in the moments that we feel friction, we many times revert back to how we actually reacted as a child. And if you think about it, it's like, I mean, maybe as a child I wasn't seen, so I had to do the tantrum, or maybe I was hiding. I didn't want to be seen, because you can find those two things. So that's why many people kind of, in a conflict situation, they like almost like they just pull back, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe somebody's more combative. So we use the strategies that we learn. We don't update them many times unless we do any type of work, but a lot of us keep those outdated mechanisms to deal with conflict, or everyday stress, right? And it's those childish mechanisms that or even the ones that work for us when we were teenagers. So it is
Yeah.
funny because many times as adults we look at children or teenagers like, I don't even know why they're behaving like that. I'm like, maybe we're doing the same thing, like.
Yes, yes. Because if we don't heal our traumas as
Mhm.
adults, they come out,
Mhm.
through our emotions. So we have to learn to heal those traumas. And there was a book, I can't remember the name, that it really helped me. It talked about like an example of like each year we become a new version of ourselves.
Mhm.
So based on that year experience, if there was a huge trauma,
Hmm.
even when you're a baby. Like they said with the kids that moms had a hard labor,
Hmm.
they deal with like anxiety all the time, and it's attached to when they were born,
Hmm.
that they had a hard labor. So it's just amazing. Yeah, sometimes we bring our traumas and we have to be clever enough, to identify them and heal them,
Hmm.
because it will only gonna move us, a step ahead of where we're going.
Oh my God,
So
yeah. And thank you for bringing that up. Is many times people think about there's different levels of trauma, right? There's as everything else, different life experiences, and nobody gets to tell you what should or should not be traumatic, right? Because how the body works is all the nervous system and all the chemicals, all the neurochemicals, everything else is a stamp. So whatever you feel an arousal or anything in your nervous system, the body keeps the stamping and the body keeps the score. So somehow whatever that is, and many times it's just is fast, it's unconscious, so we don't think about it. But the body, it's the way where we actually hold a lot of traumatic events, a lot of hard events. And it's not until we start doing like later on in life where maybe it transforms into somatic issues, pains, um, emotional or psychological, physical, right? And that's when, if we there are a lot of people will lean into it and seek help. A lot of people will need that a little push, that more than a push is the invitation to say, you know what, it's safe, it's okay, it's okay for you to explore it. You're not going to be judged, because a lot of people don't want to take that route, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm old. I'm old, right? I shouldn't be having this. I should have dealt with that long time ago. So somehow deep inside, they don't feel safe to actually share their pain, and they just keep plowing through life.
yes. And now that you mentioned that, sometimes there is a defense mechanism.
Hmm.
If you're around people that, one of them is like really loud, maybe that was her defense mechanism or his defense mechanism to get out, you know, from experiencing that trauma.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they isolate because they think that, we have several shields. We all do. I mean, it's like as an adult, sometimes I'm pretty sure you see it whenever you walk into a training and you see adults with, I mean, shields where,
Hmm.
we're able to identify them, and all you got to do is love them as you're training. It's like you got to love them, continue to smile, and sometimes they're able to remove the shields off whenever they feel that you're
Hmm.
safe, that you're there to help them and connect with them.
Hmm.
So yes, it's like adults need to, we all need to learn to heal this traumas that we had,
Hmm.
because we're wearing you see it on their face,
Right.
you see
Like,
yeah,
mhm.
yes.
And it's funny, and I'll give you an example. Is, let's say we're on the second or third day of training, and you give them the badge, or you say hello to them by their name. Many adults, and I'm telling you, it's like that, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking from 20, 30, 40, 50, even 60 and 70 years old. Oh, I can't believe you remember my name. So the question
Mhm.
that I always ask is like, why wouldn't I? Right? And
Yeah.
it's not, I'm not seeking for an answer, but it's just to get them thinking. Is like, yeah, like I is almost like, I don't like this word, but it's almost so they can start, this creates a little bit of awareness, like, yeah, I deserve to be seen, right? Like, why would I not
Yes.
be remembered?
Yes.
So it's like it start the thinking, so their mind starts turning around. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what, that's a good point. Like, I actually kind of like to be seen, and it's so simple. It's so simple, and it's tools that we can implement. And good leaders do that so naturally. Like, now that you're in the classroom, right? Remind me the ages of the children that you're leading now.
The ninth grade and 10th grade.
Oh
So
my God,
14,
it's such a
15.
fun age. It is an
Uh-huh.
interesting age, but it's such a fascinating age. So I'm thinking, just going even back to when I was 9 or 10, what would it been like to have a person like you? That would have been awesome. Just imagine. So because there's a lot of transition. So during the teenage years is is the fastest and most intense in terms of biological, everything psychological changes that a human can go through. Later on in life, we continue to grow, but the teenagers are intense. So if we actually looking to serve as an offering an environment, an invitation to say it's okay to not be okay. You're safe. You're okay. You're good. There's a place for you to connect. I'm seeing you. I hear you. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
Yeah, and I did tell them, it's like I'm not here to teach you to be a follower. It's like you have a leader within you.
Mhm.
It's like speak up. I'm not. I'm the instructor, as it we're in here together. So
Mhm.
yes, I'm blessed to be able to share, what I've learned, and I see their beautiful eyes, just like, the light lit up,
Popping
where it's like,
out.
yeah, oh. And some of them, like we all are at different levels of our
Mhm.
development, and I'm talking about like our, not just our professional development, but our growth,
Right.
our psychology. So I see some of them are like, yeah, and then they give you great answers of what a leader
Mhm.
is, or what they see, what a good leader is. So yeah, I'm having fun as
That's
I am,
awesome.
as I am practicing,
Uh-huh.
and see what works, and what doesn't work. But yes, even, like, even adults need our trainings. Like it's like all ages, not just the little
Mhm.
ones, but also, we all need this. That's what
Mhm.
I'm seeing, is like if it works with adults, and now I see that it's working with our youth,
Mhm.
is because it's a pattern. Then, it's
Mhm.
like there are the same strategies that we can use psychologically for all of us to grow. So that's why we have this show, to bring
Yeah, exactly.
awareness.
Right.
Yes, it doesn't
And
matter the age,
it
like you
doesn't
were
matter.
saying. You
Mhm.
could be 59. I had one of my friends that, uh, were in this kind of brain health together,
Mhm.
and neuroencoding. He started in his 50s, and I'm like, wow, he turned his life around, and
Mhm.
it's never too late to improve
Ex-
your life.
exactly. Oh my gosh. So I, I know a lot of people, sometimes they judge me. It's okay. I don't really care. I am a big person, and maybe call me an optimist. An optimist. I do believe in second and third chances, and maybe it takes people 4 or 5 times
Yes.
because there are lessons that we learn that maybe it's gonna take us a second chance or a third chance. That doesn't mean that just because just imagine if we were to be cut off at the second time we make a mistake. I mean,
Yeah.
we probably, a lot of us, the majority of us, wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We wouldn't be having the families that we have had, right? Because that's how we do everything, right? So I do believe in second and third chances, and I remind people, it's like it doesn't really matter. Like, oh, I tried this and it didn't work. It doesn't really matter, right? It what isn't there is a learning for you there. Like, what can you take from there and take it then to the next level, and then get continued learning, and then get the answers that you're looking for. But having more a curious mind, more like an exploration rather than, okay, I need this because that's the only thing that is gonna give me that. So just keeping that curiosity going.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, because we're all on a quest.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that you're talking about, including myself, that
Right.
sometimes we need more than the fourth chance to
Mm-hmm.
get it. We're just on a quest, and sometimes we get distracted, like we were talking at the beginning of the show. We get distracted because we look aside, and I said, oh, but she's 5 steps ahead of me, what did she do?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get lost on our authenticity, like we don't know what we truly are meant to do, because we don't see our talents.
Right.
Because she's faster, and I
Mm-hmm.
see she's smarter at math and business, and then I forget to turn the light into my talents and appreciate my talents. And it's like, okay, so what do you want? Like that question is like, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get lost on trying to to see what our neighbors are doing so that we can continue to keep up, instead of like looking at our talents and saying, okay, what do
Mm-hmm.
I want? Where do I want to go? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
So that took me 35 years to figure out,
Yeah.
who who I was, like, truly.
Mm-hmm.
So here goes back to why we have to give them second chances or a
Mm-hmm.
third chance, because we are all in a quest
Mm-hmm.
and trying to figure out life. And sometimes we see our goals so near, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be that tomorrow we see it way ahead, and I'm like, what happened?
What the hell's going on? What is going away
Yes,
from me?
yes, yes. So it's like we're all on a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
quest, and we might not get it at the first or second time, but as we continue,
Mm-hmm.
I see it in my son, the oldest one. He's about to be 17. And thank
Oh my gosh,
goodness.
I can't believe that, Paul.
So thank goodness I have the knowledge that his
Mm-hmm.
brain is not fully developed,
Right.
because otherwise, I would have lost it already. So it's like I tell myself his brain's not fully developed. It's like, let him talk, let him.
Mm-hmm.
If that's why he thinks, that's why he thinks.
Right.
Uh, and he'll learn through experience,
Mm-hmm.
by messing up. But it's like, yeah, it's like that's why we have to give them a chance, because
Mm-hmm.
their brain's not fully developed. Our female brain develops at 25, and a male brain develops at 28. So yes, and we're here on a quest. Even
My
even now,
first.
even at my age of 38, I'm like, oh wow, still learning and
Mhm.
figuring how to continue on my quest. It's like,
Exactly. And I love how you put it, it's like it's a quest, because a quest makes it like it's ongoing, it's exciting. Um, Many times the word journey, it's either overused and it's like, well, a journey many times doesn't tell you where to go. The quest, however, it's almost like it gives you a little bit, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, humans like to have some sort of control, or at least
yeah.
think that they have some sort of control. And the quest, like the word quest for me, it's like it allows you to, it gives you that, and also a little bit of excitement, a little bit of curiosity. So it is a quest after all. Uh, and the other thing the other piece that you mentioned that I want to bring up is because I've been doing a lot of work on this lately. Is a lot of people look for clarity and purpose. Clarity and purpose, clarity and purpose, clarity and purpose. I want this. This is what I want. I want clarity and purpose. What do I want to do with my life, right? Is the question. What do I want to do with my life? But what we forget to do is that we don't get to know what we want until we don't know who we are. So many times that's kind of the rabbit hole of personal development coaching I went through it myself. Is it was pursuing and looking for what is that clarion purpose, what am I supposed to be doing here, right? The problem is that if you embark on that, it's probably going to take you longer. You're probably going to find yourself in the mist. But until you don't know who you really are, who you are, if you get to appreciate your capacity, your qualities, until you don't really see who you are, clarity and purpose is going to shift. It's going to keep moving. And that's what lead us into following shiny objects, because once we actually get to know, like, no, this is what I want to be, this is what I am, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, these are my qualities, this is like, then you can follow, or you can start embarking in that clarity and purpose that you want, right? But it is fascinating that it's still many times it's talked about, I'll sell you the clarity and purpose vision, but really it's all about who is it that you truly are right now.
Hmm.
And it's okay if that's not the person that you want to become later on. Like what steps can you do to actually make it happen for you? Then clarity will come.
Yes, here we go back to seeing our talents and core values. That's what I use
Mhm,
on, at the beginning of each training, is like, what are those core values that
mhm,
represent you? Because
right.
sometimes, we know that we have core values, but
Mhm,
whenever you adopt four, you can always realign and go back to, if I am gratitude, if I am integrity, if I am love, but what I'm doing doesn't match my core values and I'm not being true to myself.
Mhm.
So then, then you give them the wake up moment where it's like, then you're not matching, like who you are to what you're doing. So how can we transition to that so that you can truly get to
Mhm.
that fulfillment? So yes, I love that
Yeah.
identity. And I think a lot of people, because of this generation, they hear identity and they move away from it. But it's because you see in some of the
Mhm.
trainings or talks, they say identity, and some of the people is like, oh, I don't want that, I know who I am.
Right.
But in
Mhm.
reality, no, we don't, and unless you have your core values defined and you realign as many times as you need to be true to yourself. Here we goes back to belonging, and being vulnerable. It's like it opens so many doors for our growth.
Mhm. So many doors. And it goes back to the basics, right? We want to overcomplicate this. But being a human is more simple than we think it is. It is challenging, but it's simple. So going back to the basics, we want to be seen, heard, understood. We want to feel safe. We want to belong, right? And the majority of our fears come because there is somehow an environment is not going to make us, feel safe. And when I'm talking to safety, it's not about somebody's going to come, or a cyber tooth, tiger is going to come to you. It's like, am I going to be judged, right? Am I going to be, and that's why safety and belonging goes hand in hand. Is like, am I going to be judged? Am I going to be excluded? Then I'm not going to be seen. So it's like
Yes.
cascading, 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 cascading.
Yes, yes. Thanks for saying this. I think, in the first book, I'm planning to write a book. So I want to talk about rejection, the
Yeah.
need for us to learn to be rejected. It's
Yes.
okay. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay to be rejected. And the more we are rejected,
Mhm.
the better it'll be. It's like, okay, well, the next, and
Mhm.
I'm learning this as a business person, because I observed business. My dad had businesses, and his management wasn't the great key. So I move away from that. I was like, well, that's not for me. I seen the
Mhm.
pain. We move away from
Right.
pain.
Right.
So my brain seen the negativity. Then I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, that's not for me. So I didn't stretch the mindset of business. So now that I'm at my 30s, that I'm getting into the business side, I'm stretching my business, and I know being like rejection is a huge key for us to
Mhm.
to be okay with it, to
Mhm.
be okay with it. And I think our new generation, our young kids need to know that it's okay to be rejected. We but is that need to feel belong,
Yeah.
like we want to belong somewhere, so we want everybody to like us. uh so yes, rejection is like we have to be okay
Yeah.
because we know who we are.
Mhm. So, oh my gosh, thank you for bringing that up. So there are three pieces to that. So the rejection piece is like, first of all, we don't want to be liked by everybody. Can you imagine that everybody liked us, right? That's not going to work because there are groups that we're not going to want to belong to those groups, right? Even even as we grow older, and that's a continued process. We don't want to be liked by everybody, right? But it's the discernment piece. It's the ability for us to discern. Is it's okay for me to be rejected or not welcome because there is somebody else that will. And many times what happens is, or being afraid of being rejected, is because if we're disconnected from that group, there's nothing else for us out there. So if we can actually, once we when most of the work that I do is help the client see there's something else besides this group, right? That not belonging to this group is okay. And I'm telling you, it's like, this could be a system, this could be corporate, this could be divorce, this could be a marriage, this could be anything, right? Like, if you were to disconnect because it's no longer serving your purpose, there's something else out there. Is like making that connection and that jump. But what many people see is like, there's nothing else. If I'm disconnected and severed from this group, I'm out, So it's always like that never ending loop. Like, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to be that. It's all then I don't want. I don't. But what do you actually want? Right? So do you know that if this group, if you're separate for this, group or system, right? Corporate, family, marriage, that is not whatever relationship it is, that then there's something else out there that will support exactly what you want and your vision and who you are, and that you don't actually have to be, fake. Just call it for what it is. That you can actually, all your, quirkiness, or your, whatever that is, your identity, your essence, it's welcomed.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. Yes, there is communities out there waiting for you. You don't have to experience that rejection and loneliness
Hmm.
because you are beautiful within you. It's
Hmm.
like it takes 1 in 400 trillion to create the magic of
Yes.
you being here. Of the magic of the egg and the sperm to happen is like it
Hmm.
takes 1 in 400 trillion. So you are a miracle already
Right.
just by being
Exactly.
here. And sometimes we don't see it because the comparison happens. Our brain's trying to keep us safe, and
Hmm.
it goes back to our ancestors when they had to fight against a lion. Like the defense mechanism. So well, now we don't have lions, so we don't have huge animals to defend ourselves from. But now we have the fear of rejection. We have the fear of failing, fear of
Hmm.
not belonging. So we have to be okay with rejection because we know who we are. But it goes back to, like you were saying, you have to know who you are, what core
Hmm.
values you have, in order to know and see the clarity and purpose that you're looking for. uh,
And yeah, because that gives you power back, right? Now that you get to choose who to belong. And I bring this, when I came to the United States, it was at that age where, in the middle of the teenage years, where like you don't belong where you are anyway. So now you come to a whole different culture and that. So I kind of became a little bit obsessed with what connection and safety is all about, because I really had a hard time connecting with people, and or being, or if I was created a connection, it was being afraid of being rejected, trying to mold myself, to, of course, you want to culturalize yourself, but try to, like, okay, I don't want to show up myself as, too much of this or too much of that, or I'm gonna tone that down, or so it gave me a lot of like a lot of conflict. It's like, should I be this? Should I be that? And like, and many times I was just like, this is exhausting. It's
yes.
really exhausting, and you don't get to enjoy neither group that you are in.
Yes, you and I have to have another show
I
about
know.
how we immigrated, because I
Oh,
remember wearing high heels because that's what, in Mexico, like when I was a teenager, it's like we're going to the movies, it's like, okay, well, you wear your high heels, you put your makeup on,
oh
and you just look
gosh.
really, like you go to the movie theaters. Well, here in America,
You go in your
you
sweatpants.
yeah, you put your tennis shoes. He's like, you're just very laid back. So it's like trying to adjust to a new culture. I get it. I totally get it. And no knowing, you're gauging where do you belong. Like you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable because you're just here, learning their culture. Yes, we have to have a show just
Yes, and
for
yeah, I think that would be awesome, because even not only people from, our age, or our generation, 30s, 40s, 50s, but also the teenagers that are coming here, the children, is how can you embrace both cultures, or three cultures, whatever that is, and still be fully you.
yes.
There's a whole thing. Oh yeah, we you
Yes, we need to. Now, we only have 2 minutes left, so
yeah.
share with us how can our audience found you? What are you up to?
So I'm in Instagram and Facebook, all the social media. To be quite honest, I just started doing TikTok just because I wanted to explore. That's kind of, funky for me. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
mainly in Instagram and Facebook. That's where you can find me. And I also have my website as well, where you can, reach out to me. And I tend to travel, quite a bit doing the trainings and coaching a lot of people. But my passion is also connecting anytime we can with, wherever I am. So um, I'm I'm a traveling nomad, but I love, making those connections, wherever I go. So
Thank you so much for being here with us today. I truly enjoy our conversation
same.
and sharing it with our audience. So we're gonna have you back again. So
Yes.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for being here with us today. I hope you found an aha moment, a phrase, a word. Sometimes it just takes a word for us to continue to, like, okay, they say this word, maybe it could be authenticity. Authenticity. How can I practice my authenticity to benefit your life, to create a brighter future? And remember that you give power to your talents and you give life to your dreams. If you will love to watch the replay for this interview, you can go to my YouTube channel, Paola Guthrie. Also, this show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Please, Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, download it, and live it. Thank you so much. Blessings to you all.